All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
What first appeared to be a harmless mishap inside the United Nations building in New York has now escalated into a diplomatic controversy involving President Donald Trump and his administration. The stir began when an escalator carrying President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump abruptly came to a halt. The two continued on foot without incident, but the unusual stoppage immediately drew attention. In an ordinary setting, it might have been dismissed as a technical snag. At the UN, however, it quickly became the subject of political speculation. Soon after, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt took to social media, describing the malfunction as unacceptable. She went further, suggesting it might not have been accidental at all. Her post stated, "If anyone at the UN intentionally stopped the escalator while the President and First Lady were on it, they should be investigated and removed immediately."
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. It's working now. Just went off. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job.
The demand raised eyebrows among diplomats, since mechanical failures are common in such a large complex. But suspicions grew after a Times article claimed UN employees had previously joked about cutting power to escalators and elevators during Trump's visits, joking they would tell him the organization had run out of money.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Although the president initially laughed off the incident, the glitches didn't end there. Just minutes later, as he began addressing the UN General Assembly, Trump's teleprompter froze. With the room watching, he paused, looked toward the staff, and remarked, "Whoever is running this teleprompter is in big trouble." The comment drew chuckles, but also highlighted his growing irritation. Trump later tied the two mishaps together, using them as a metaphor for what he sees as the UN's broader inefficiencies. He told delegates the body was failing to respond to major international crises, dismissing it as an institution with, quote, "a broken escalator and a broken teleprompter."
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Beyond the quips, Trump pointed to what he called his achievements in ending 7 endless wars, contrasting U.S. action with what he portrayed as UN inaction. His sharp words were both a rebuke of the institution and a rallying cry for his base. Reactions were mixed. Some diplomats brushed off the incidents as typical Trump showmanship. But the White House's call for an inquiry suggests Washington is treating it seriously. Critics say the president is inflating minor inconveniences into unnecessary disputes. Supporters argue it reflects his willingness to challenge an international body he views as ineffective and dismissive of American concerns. So what started as a 15-second escalator stall has snowballed into a symbolic clash between the Trump administration and the UN. Was it sabotage, coincidence, or just bad luck? That may never be clear. What is certain, Donald Trump turned two technical glitches, an escalator and a teleprompter, into a headline-making moment, leaving this year's General Assembly remembered as much for its drama as its diplomacy.